Within this tank lives a miniature world. There are predators and prey, wind and rain. This desert is a dangerous place, but despite all odds, some animals have evolved to survive. It transformed from an empty wasteland to a thriving ecosystem. To understand the mysteries within, first we must go back to day one. It all began with setting up a tank, various materials, and a bunch of cacti. The next step involved mixing dirt and constructing the substrate. Once rocks were added, the challenging task of planting the cacti began, with their sharp spines causing some discomfort. After some final touches, the tank was finished, providing the groundwork for a thriving ecosystem. On the third day, the first animals were introduced. These are known as isopods, with two distinct varieties, clowns and zebras. Once placed into the tank, they immediately sought shelter. Alongside the isopods, springtails and buffalo beetles were introduced. These detritivores have an appetite for nearly anything they come across. All these tiny creatures are destined to become future prey for a predator. Eventually, a predator will enter the scene, completing the natural cycle as it preys on the smaller bugs. This carefully crafted ecosystem is a testament to the intricate connections that exist within the natural world, even on a smaller scale. Around the 50th day, the isopod community flourished in the shaded corners of the tank, forming small herds. Surprisingly, the young isopods closely resembled their adult counterparts. A shedding process was evident among them, as one of the juveniles discarded its old skin. While the zebra isopods thrived, the clown isopods mysteriously vanished. Meanwhile, buffalo beetles were on the rise, dominating the environment. To illustrate their abundance, a deceased cockroach was introduced to the tank, rapidly devoured until only a hollow skeleton remained. Their unchecked proliferation prompted the need for a natural predator. Enter the dune scorpion, a formidable hunter capable of swiftly dispatching beetles and isopods alike. Notably, a tiny white droplet on its stinger contains potent venom, necessitating caution. Introducing the scorpion into the tank, it took its initial steps into this new world after a gentle touch. Despite being nearly blind, the scorpion efficiently captured a buffalo beetle within minutes, satisfying its hunger. The scorpion, having filled its stomach, sought a suitable place to burrow. After a few hours, it completed its subterranean dwelling, appearing as an inconspicuous hole on the surface. However, beneath the ground, it served as the scorpion's sanctuary, where it would spend the majority of its time. As night fell, the scorpion emerged under ultraviolet light, emanating a mesmerizing radioactive green glow. On the 60th day, it became clear that the scorpion alone couldn't handle the beetles. They were multiplying faster than the scorpion could catch them, so we needed to introduce some competition. Enter the blue death-fainting beetle. These bugs are no ordinary creatures. They've got three amazing abilities. First, they create their own sun protection with the white powder on their backs, shielding them from the harsh desert sun. Second, their large abdomen helps them store water, just like a camel. They can survive for a long time without needing a sip. But here's their third superpower. They're tough as nails. Their strong armor keeps them safe from sandstorms and fierce desert winds. When we introduced them to the tank, one of them made a big mistake right away. It ventured near the scorpion's burrow and ended up walking right into danger. There was a tense moment of standoff. The beetle made a move, tapping the scorpion, then darting deeper into the burrow. The scorpion nudged the beetle gently and eventually made its way back up to the surface. It was a close call, and we decided to let them be for the night. As the sun started to rise, something quite rare was about to occur. It was the rainy season, and one of the few storms of the entire year was on its way. The pond began to flood as the storm passed. Animals started to come out. The rain brought new life to the desert landscape. This rose of Jericho opened its leaves after getting water. By day 63, the water area was bustling with life. Hundreds of tiny eggs that lay dormant in the sand began to hatch. The pond was filled with these small white dots that were about to transform into something amazing. Meanwhile, on the land, it was time to introduce a new animal. Here is a Mexican jumping bean, and here are 30 more. These are not what they seem. After we introduced them, they started to dance. They seemed to roll around without direction, but each one had a mission: find shelter. They jumped to escape the desert heat. It didn't take them long to gather under whatever they could find. Now inside every bean lives a caterpillar. One day they will transform into beautiful little moths. On day 72, life in the water had increased a lot. These small white creatures are called fairy shrimp. They smoothly move through the water, filtering out whatever food they can find. In the darker areas of the water, there is a larger and sturdier animal than the fairy shrimp. Meet the triops. We placed one on my fingers so you can see how big it is. They look like they're from a long time ago, like dinosaurs. Although they seem to be doing well now, there's a problem. Each day, the water level is getting lower and lower. The desert sun is quickly drying up their tiny pond. By day 81, the water in the pond had almost disappeared, but there was still a lot happening. The triops, these ancient-looking creatures, were busy carrying clusters of eggs, searching for a safe spot to lay them. You can see a female triops carefully digging a hole to protect her eggs. They won't hatch until the next rainy season. Meanwhile, the fairy shrimp, those little white crustaceans, had also laid their eggs, wrapping up their life cycle. A few days later, the pond had completely dried up. The rose of Jericho, which had bloomed with the rain, had closed itself, and it seemed like there was no life left. But if you take a closer look, you'll find loads of tiny eggs waiting for the next rainfall to bring life back. Although the pond seemed empty, it was time to introduce a new predator. This creature would sit at the top of the food chain. From cacti to tiny creatures, we've seen the desert's life thrive in a controlled environment. While a complete desert ecosystem might be a stretch, creating a microcosm offers a glimpse into its complexity. If you enjoyed this, make sure to show some love by liking this video and subscribing. Stay tuned for the next adventure.